Sunday morning. Oh no.
It's evening.
Well, no, it's not warm and sunny either.
It depends where you're sitting.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is warm and sunny in some parts of the world, I'm sure. That passage from John may seem a bit of an odd one to fully grasp and understand. And it comes in John's Gospel 3 days after Jesus' baptism by John in the Jordan. Excuse me. Day 1. John sees Jesus and says, "There is the Lamb of God." Day 2. Again, he sees Jesus and says a similar thing. And day 3, Jesus leaves for Galilee. There he found Philip, saying, "Follow me." Now what presence but must Jesus have had? What charisma, what aura around him for Philip just to say, "Yeah, okay, I'll follow you." Similar, I'm sure, to the calling of the first disciples a few verses earlier on. Peter and Andrew, James and John left their nets and followed Jesus without a by your word. Just follow me, he said. But not only that, Philip finds Nathanael and tells him that they found the fulfillment of Moses' prophecy. That was a great statement, a great innovation, a great insight. Oh, by the way, he's from Nazareth. What? Can anything good come from Nazareth? Nathanael says. Nazareth was despised by the Jewish people, by and large, because in Nazareth there was a Roman garrison settled there, and undoubtedly the Jews in that area welcomed the Romans, A, for their protection, B, for the work they might give them, but siding with a foreign power who'd invaded and captured the land. So Nathanael says, "What? Can anything good come from Nazareth?" It's like people saying in Lugwardine, "Can anything good come from Ledbury?" Or Hereford.
Oh, that's better.
That sort of thing. We all have a prejudice about different parts of the country. But Jesus speaks directly to Nathanael, and there's something in what he said convinced him of who he was, who he is. Again, the charisma and the presence and the aura about Jesus just spoke to him. And Nathanael said, "I'm not anything to do with you. You're from Nazareth." No, he didn't. He said, "You are the Son of God." Now, what a great statement. What was it about Jesus that Nathanael saw to make that statement? That Nathanael immediately knew who Jesus was. The Son of God. Nathanael, a devout Jew, would have been waiting for the long-promised Messiah, prophesied hundreds of years ago. And here was the man that Philip said, "This is the man that the prophets have written about." And Nathanael knew he was the Son of God. And he also knew he was the King of Israel. That's not a bad start for Nathanael to make. Just met him, said, "Who's he?" He comes from Nazareth, he can't be up to much. And then he says, he is the Son of God. He is the King of Israel. So not a bad start for Nathanael to make in his following of Jesus. But do you really know who Jesus is? Do you really know that he is the Messiah? Long awaited for thousands of years by millions of people coming 2,000 plus years ago. And he is still the Messiah, the promised one, the long awaited one. Nothing's changed. Do you believe also that not only is Jesus King of Israel, as Nathanael said, but he's also King of over all the earth? He was involved in the creation of everything that there has been already is and will be. Do you really know that Jesus is truly the only Son of God?
Amen.
Not like some people say he is a Son of God. He is the Son of God.
Amen.
But also, are you willing to help others to know that with the same certainty?
Amen.
Nathanael didn't like Nazareth along with many other Jews and didn't want anything to do with people who came from there, a remote, out-of-the-way place. And in Nathanael's thinking and lots of other Jewish people, could the Messiah really come from such a seemingly low-down backwater where we don't have anything to do with them? Does the Messiah come from that place? And in their thinking they think, no. The Messiah will come from a big city or will be parachuted in from the heavens. We are often a bit like Nathanael. It's too easy to reject those who come from a different place, or look differently, or talk differently, or a different status, because of what they look like, or what we feel they are. How easily do we reject them? How easily are we unjustifiable in our judgment of them? But rather than argue with his friend Philip, Philip invited Nathanael to come and see. 3 short words. See for himself who this Jesus was. The cleverest arguments in the world very rarely win people over to Jesus. Much more important, is an encounter with the person of Jesus Christ, a personal encounter. Not what somebody else has told us, not what we've read in books, but a personal, face-to-face encounter with Jesus. No matter what our situation has been, an encounter that can and will change a person's life forever. Nathanael found in Jesus more than he could have hoped for or dreamed of. Because would Nathanael have thought, well, I'll meet the Messiah one day and I'll be on his team and be with him? Because the Jews had this image of the Messiah as the all-sweeping conqueror, driving the oppressors, the Romans, out of the land and setting up a kingdom in that place. But Jesus just spoke a quiet word to Nathanael. And that quiet word set Nathanael's heart ablaze with awe and with wonder and curiosity. Jesus knows us better than we know ourselves, which is a bit scary sometimes.
Yeah.
And he revealed to Nathanael the innermost thoughts and desires of his heart. Nathanael, being a devout Jew, was hungry for a knowledge of God. He really wanted to get to know God personally.
Yes.
And he meets God in person, face to face, beyond his wildest dreams. Are we hungry for God? Are we hungry for knowledge of God? Do we know God? Or do we want to know God personally? I heard a story from one of the missions we were involved in. There was a meeting, a main meeting one evening. A lot of people there, and there was a nun. And she went up and spoke to the speaker afterwards. For 40 years, she said, I've known about God. But tonight, I know God. And there is a difference between knowing about something and knowing it. Do we know God? Or do we know him personally? God places in every heart a longing and a desire to know the one who created us in his love. The trouble is, we don't often realise that we need to know, or that it's even possible to know God. We all have a desire for love, a need for deep, deep love that is only really possible in God and through Jesus Christ. A love that will never let us down, no matter what we do, or what we say, or what we don't do, or don't say. God still loves us. Many people in this world feel they're not loved by anyone because of who they are or what they are, or they're undeserving of love. As people of God, we can and should feel differently. We should know that we are loved. Loved without exception. In the story that we had, what is the significance of Jesus' revelation of seeing Nathanael under the fig tree? The fig tree was a symbol in Israel of God's blessing and the peace of Israel. And fig trees or fig leaves appear often in the scripture. I'm sure we all remember the first mention of the fig tree when Adam and Eve covered themselves with fig leaves when they realised they were naked. Jesus figuratively covers us